There's been some stuff going on in the Nintendo space, and I kind of wanted to chat about it. I don't have a script or anything, and I'm sick, so really I shouldn't be on the mic at all. But I got some hot tea, and I wanted to yap about what's going on with Mario. Um, there's like a subset of the Nintendo community or like Mario fan base. They seem to be collectively hallucinating a future where there's like a big Mario game that's just gonna get like shadow dropped, or like a subset of people think that there's gonna be the big new Mario game this year, or that we're gonna see an announcement for a big new 3D Mario game, and I just think that it's kind of silly to think that we're gonna get a big new 3D Mario game when we just got a big new 3D Mario game. It's called Donkey Kong Bonanza. You should play it. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And you might say, oh, but that's a Donkey Kong game. Yeah, it is a Donkey Kong game. You're not playing as Mario, but it is also like kind of a spiritual prequel to Mario Odyssey. And also, it was developed by the people who made Mario Odyssey, which was the last big 3D Mario. So while we are like probably overdue for a new like 3D Mario experience, that that manifested itself in the form of Donkey Kong Bonanza. So I don't think that we're gonna get a new big 3D thing, and people are like hinging. They think that this hinges on like the anniversary, and that we're gonna get like a big direct or like some kind of big announcement for Mario's 40th anniversary. But they've kind of already made the point that like the big Mario 40th anniversary celebration thing is the new movie coming out. We're getting Mario Galaxy 2 or Mario Galaxy 2. Mario Movie 2, Mario Galaxy, whatever you want to call it. And that's like the big celebration of Mario. And that's what it's going to be because, I mean, they're jumping around different galaxies or whatever, and it's just going to be a bunch of references to different Mario stuff. And that's the bulk of what the movie's going to be. And it's like, that's the Mario 40th anniversary celebration. They really don't have anything. And people seem to think that there's going to be some grand, like, reveal, and I just don't think it's going to happen. If Nintendo seriously had something in the pipeline, they would have showed it to us by now if it was worth showing off. Like, they showed us Splatoon Raiders almost a year ago at this point, and that game still isn't even out. We aren't even sure quite what that's going to be, other than like a single player story Splatoon game that isn't like a. It isn't primarily an online PvP game, which is interesting. But like, if they were willing to announce that so far into the future, then I don't see why they wouldn't have announced like, oh yeah, the big next big 3D Mario extravaganza game for the Nintendo Switch 2 and only the Nintendo Switch 2, and here's a sneak peek preview. Like, they would have given that to us by now if it was like anywhere near happening soon. So I don't think it is. And given that Donkey Kong Bonanza shares so much DNA and also shares so many developers from the Mario Odyssey like team, I don't think that they're gonna go and drop a new Mario in the next 2 years, because they just dropped a big Mario. You just don't play as Mario, but it's functionally another 3D platformer, explorathon, collectathon. You know, it's one of those games. They just made one, so they're not gonna like turn around and have a new Mario in 2 years' time, like, unless a different Nintendo developer was working on this. But I don't think so. I don't think so. There are different internal teams working on different things. Um, Whether there's a team working on the next big Zelda or not is up in the air. I think it was Nintendo Forecast floated recently the idea that Tears of the Kingdom could get DLC. That'd be interesting. But I doubt that'd require a core team. So I don't. We don't know what's next. The point I'm getting at is we don't know what's next, and we don't have a reason to suspect any of these things are next. I don't think that the reasons people have come up with are substantial enough to say, oh yeah, there's definitely a 3D Mario in the works because it's been 8 years or whatever since Odyssey. Like, no, that's not a reason enough because they just made a game. If anything, I would say we're closer to getting a new Luigi's Mansion purely because the team that makes Luigi's Mansion and also makes the Mario like soccer games, they made Mario Strikers for the Switch, and that was several years ago at this point. And so their dev cycle turnaround time is creeping up, and they should have a new game down the pipeline if they're consistently pumping out stuff. So Luigi's Mansion 4 is probably coming in the next year or so. Um, but as far as like mainline 3D Mario games, I don't see one happening for the same reason that people are like called that the last video I made was like, oh, Persona 6 isn't happening, this year, next year, and that was a couple of years ago or whenever I made that video a year ago. People like on crack about Persona 6 as if Metaphor ReFantazio was not functionally Persona 6, just in a different franchise and with some new stuff going on. Like, this is the same situation. This is my Persona video part 2. It's the same scenario. The devs that make those games just made a different game that is very similar to those original games. The Mario guys just made Donkey Kong, and it's functionally just a Mario game with destructible terrain, and it's a pretty good game, and you should play it if you're like chomping at the bit for a new 3D Mario experience. I have to ask if you've played the new Donkey Kong game, because if that didn't do it for you, I get where you're coming from, because it wasn't like it didn't hit me the way that Mario Odyssey did. It didn't pull me in, but I've been playing and I've been enjoying it. I finally picked it back up after a while. But if you didn't play Donkey Kong Bonanza because it's a Donkey Kong game and not a Mario game, you should go play it because like it's a good game. And I have a feeling if you really like Mario Odyssey, you would like Donkey Kong Bonanza because it's functionally just Mario Odyssey, but they were more focused in their design principles. Um, that's my piece as far as the like 3D Mario, Deltarune Tomorrow drama. But the thing that I would like to talk about and that I've kind of been like considering making a more scripted video about, but I mean, if I upload this, then this is going to be a replacement of that because I'm not passionate enough to script something about my own hallucinations. But if there is anything Nintendo like Mario game down the pipeline that we are due for and haven't seen anything manifest in its vein, I would say Mario Maker. We're due for a new Mario Maker if they're still interested in that franchise. And that's a big question mark because like Mario Maker hasn't sold crazy. Like as far as Switch games are concerned, there are much bigger Mario games. I'm pretty sure that like the 3D World plus Bowser's Fury sold better than Mario Maker 2 did. I should probably Google that and I'll put on the screen whether that's true or not. I'll compare some sales figures to like other Mario games versus Mario Maker 2 because from my understanding it didn't do like gangbusters, whereas a lot of other games that came out like on the Wii U and then got like their own Switch successor or Switch port. Like Mario Kart 8 got a Switch port. Splatoon 2 was a functional follow up to Splatoon 1 on the Wii U. All of those games, that either got re released on the Switch or got a sequel on the Switch pretty early on, did gangbusters. And I think, relatively speaking, Mario Maker 2 didn't do as well. Um, which sucks because I love Mario Maker. Um, But anyway, the point I'm getting at is that there's an argument to be made that Nintendo wouldn't be interested in making another Mario Maker type game, especially if they didn't have something like big. Because with Mario, it's always like they need some big like new thing to make it work, make it interesting, make it unique, make it worthwhile. Um, Although I would argue with 2D Mario that hasn't historically been the case. They don't mind shitting those out. But I would say that like there are ideas that they could do if they were going to do a Mario Maker 3 and uh like so we've got like a new we have a new 2D Mario since that Mario Maker 2 game came out forever ago. We have like Mario Wonder. So if they were going to do like a traditional like oh here's the next Mario Maker and it's going to have new game themes and it's just another 2D Mario Maker, it would be here's Mario Wonder as a theme, maybe Yoshi's Island as a theme, or like any. They could pick any one like Mario spinoff series. They could do a Yoshi's Island. They could do Wario Land. I don't think they would do both, but they could do one. Um, in fact, I could totally see them doing like a Mario Maker 3 thing with the branding where it's like the three guys. Like Mario Maker 2, the box art was like Mario and Luigi both in the builder costumes, whereas like Mario Maker 1 was Mario in the builder costume. So I could totally see them tacking a builder's helmet onto Wario and being like, "Here's Mario Maker 3," and and with Wario is here, and you can like build like Wario Land levels or something. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Um, I don't think they're gonna go that route, given that Wario Land is kind of a dead series. Oh my gosh, this is the second Blood Moon I've gotten in a row. I am actually playing this live. I should probably preface that this is not pre-recorded B-roll. This is me playing Terraria. That's why I'm kind of just running around and killing shit. Um, and honestly, the fact that it's a blood moon makes me worry about the quality of this video moving forward. Go down and away. Um, there are different angles they could take for Mario Maker 3, is the point that I'm getting at. But the thing that I would like to mention is okay, we have the Nintendo Switch 2 system with the new mouse controllers. What game would functionally benefit really well from like a mouse mode feature or mouse mode support? What game franchise in Splatoon? What game franchise in Nintendo's like library of oh here's all our IP and all of the games that we've made historically, like if we were to make a sequel for a game series, what would do well with a mouse mode feature tacked onto it? We got Metroid Prime 4 with the mouse mode like control scheme. All right, maybe we'll see some Splatoon stuff. There's the Splatoon. I was thinking ahead of myself. Maybe Pikmin. If Pikmin 5 or like Pikmin gets some kind of spin-off or something, I could totally see Pikmin having mouse controls in a new entry. That would be sick. But more than any of those series, I think Mario Maker would greatly warrant a mouse mode implementation. In fact, the entire building aspect of it would like it needs the mouse is the point I'm getting at. Mario Maker 1 was great. One of the few games that I felt made good use of the gamepad. It was kind of like Nintendo didn't really find their footing with the gamepad until like 2 or 3 years into the Wii U. And by at that point, like the Wii U was basically dead and they were already like workshopping the Switch. But they came up with some cool gameplay ideas for the Wii U gamepad. Give me a second, I gotta cough really loud. I have to mute my mic to do that. One of the games that really like sold us on like, okay, what if the DS was a home console and you had a touchscreen? Would be Mario Maker. And you use the stylus to like build levels with the like Wii U gamepad controller screen. It was awesome. It was very intuitive and I, it was a good system they had. And then Mario Maker 2 came out on the Switch, and that game suffered greatly from not having the gamepad and a touchscreen that was good. I don't know if you can even use the touchscreen in Mario Maker 2 if you play it in handheld. You probably can, but it also sucks because The Switch's touchscreen is like, I think it's capacitive like a phone screen, except it's also not as good as a phone screen. And usually, like, if you're a sensible person, you probably have like a crazy like bulletproof screen protector on your Switch, just because like you're constantly like putting the screen up against the dock if you put it in the dock, and people were scratching their screens early on, so it's very important for you to have like a tempered glass, like maybe a tempered glass, but like you need like an actual glass screen protector on your Switch. And if you put like a screen protector on your Switch, suddenly the touchscreen is even less responsive than it already was. Point is, it's an unpleasant experience playing anything touchscreen on the Switch. I remember trying to play like, what was that one Pokemon with the square Pokemon that came out on the phone, but it also came out on the eShop for some reason. Um, I'll put the title on the screen if I remember. But point is the touchscreen sucks. That game was touchscreen only, and the touchscreen sucked. Um, so yeah, naturally, Mario Maker 2 had to do a lot to like work around the lack of proper touchscreen stylus, touchscreen like gameplay, and they did it by putting everything in like click wheels. If you've ever played like Apex Legends and you pull up the heal wheel, they put everything, all of the build items on a heal wheel, you know, and you would cycle through these different wheels and flick the joystick in the correct diagonal direction to like pick the right build component. And you could only have like 10 components on your hotbar, so you were constantly scrolling through this menu of these like click wheels, and it just sucked. Like, building sucked. The building aspect of Mario Maker, the making aspect, which I feel is more important than the playing aspect, um, suffered greatly by being like ham-fisted onto the Switch without a good control implementation. And it sucks because I mean I think they gave it the old college try. They did their best, I think. Maybe they could have come up with something a little bit better, but I don't think the implementation they landed on was like poorly thought out. It was pretty well thought out, just like suboptimal, because the Wii U gamepad was better. And now that we don't have it, we have to make do with this slightly jankier alternative because it's all we can muster on the little Nintendo Switch, you know? Um, and that sucked because like Mario Maker 2 just kind of sucked to build levels in as a result. Um, I say all of this because I find it extremely interesting that of all of the original like Switch library of games that have gotten like a Switch 2 patch, um, so many games have gotten like a Switch 2 patch. To either it'll be like a $10 to $20 paid upgrade depending on the amount of features that they're tacking on. They'll charge you $20 to give you like a weird amount of DLC content that also happens to be like the Switch 2 like patch that makes the game like run in like HD or like 1440p docked. Oh, that guy killed me. Um like they like to bundle like a weirdly small amount of DLC along with like common sense like quality of life patches and then sell it to you for like $15 to $20. And then if they can't muster up enough content to make that worthwhile, they'll do like a $5 to $10 patch that's like, I don't know, like whatever they got going on with Zelda or like Animal Crossing had like a $5 upgrade. Point is, if they don't do that, then they'll just do a free update that like slightly makes the game play better or like load better. Like Mario Odyssey, like I think may run in 1440p in the dock. I'm gonna have to do a lot of fact checking on the screen and like editing this because I didn't Google a damn thing before I started recording. But point is, there have been like basic patches for like games to make them run better on Switch 2, even if there aren't like paid upgrades. We haven't gotten anything for Mario Maker 2. I think the game loads a little better on the Switch 2 just because it's like faster internet connection and it's got like more RAM or whatever, a better processor. So even if it's running the entire game through like a conversion layer to make Switch 1 machine code run on Switch 2, it's still faster than playing on Switch 1. But I don't think there has been like a bespoke like Switch 2 version of Mario Maker where they'll like update the game so that it like runs natively on the Switch 2. That hasn't happened. And that's interesting because Mario Maker 2 would greatly benefit, as I said, from like mouse mode. It would fix the stupid click wheel options if they could just give you like a big menu like they had for Mario Maker 1, where it's just like a big menu with every item on the screen, and then you just click the one that you want, and then you just click and drag your cursor around to like build your level. And that hasn't happened. We haven't gotten that for Mario Maker 2. And at the same time, Nintendo has been poking around like specific fan game sites, and while they are the, like IP trolls that they are, and they'll like DMCA whatever the fuck they want, it's interesting. They sent DMCA requests to like some like fan mod websites to take down only like the example I use is romhacking.com, or is it romhacking.net? It's romhacking.com, I think, run by like Simple Flips and them, and they do like, it's basically Super Mario 64 ROM hacks, and they'll hold like competitions where people will do their ROM hacks, and they host the hacks on there. Now you have to have your own copy of Mario 64. They're not distributing any Mario 64 game code. They're only distributing like the patch files that tack on the added content without actually selling or distributing any like Nintendo IP, or at least that's the angle that they take to protect their ass legally. So they've operated in kind of a gray area as far as like distributing Mario ROM hacks. Nintendo issued a DMCA request not to take romhacking.com down. No, surprisingly, no, they just took down the Mario Builder hack. Like there was this ROM hack for Mario 64 that would let you build your own levels. It was pretty rudimentary, but it was pretty cool. And Simple Flips happened to be holding a competition at the time where it was like, rather than doing like a full-on ROM hack competition, let's challenge people to build their own levels in Mario Builder, and then I'll play them on stream. And he was doing that. He was working his way through all the submissions, and they got the DMCA request. And so the hack that he's playing all these levels from is no longer available, unfortunately, because it's a pretty cool hack. It was essentially 3D Mario Maker for Mario 64. That was the only thing that they DMCA'd off of romhacking.com was the Mario Builder 3D Mario game. So I this is a thing that has been observed in the past, and I wish I had an example on hand beyond this. Oh, I actually do, because I referenced it earlier. That like Square Pokemon game, like at the same time that they were DMCAing Pixelmon originally, was when that like Square Pokemon game came out on like the Switch and the phone. So like they tend to go after big projects, usually around when they're like releasing a thing that it could compete with as far as like SEO is concerned. Like, oh, if I Google like Mario Maker 3 and instead I get videos that are like Super Mario Builder, Mario 64 ROM hack, like that's going to confuse people. So Nintendo issues like DMCA requests for like potentially confusing topics. And that's happening. So it makes me almost suspect that Mario Maker something is in the pipeline because they're DMCAing specifically Mario Maker-esque projects off of like fan sites. It feels a little bit tinfoil hatty to draw that conclusion, but I think it's a reasonably well-founded thing to be like, something is happening with Mario Maker. The fact that we don't have a mouse mode patch for Mario Maker 2, despite every other like significant Switch game getting some kind of update. But Mario Maker 2 didn't make the cut apparently. No mouse mode patch when it desperately needs it. But like, it's just interesting that at the same time, this is also like they're DMCAing Mario Maker-esque things is Mario Maker 3 happening? Is this something that's in the pipeline that would make them like get legally protective of like Mario Maker type things if Mario Maker is in the pipeline? And furthermore, as you might have picked up on my wording earlier, you talking about like, oh, 2D Mario, like Mario Wonder or whatnot. It, are they gonna do like a Mario Maker 3D? Like, is this gonna be a 3D Mario Maker? What are the odds that they like do that? Because the Switch 2 is a much more powerful system, and might I add, their their most recent 3D platformer game, yes, we're going back to Donkey Kong Bonanza, is a game with like deformable and modifiable terrain. And it also features like a Mario Paint ass like 3D sculptor. Like the entire game hinges on deformable terrain. If we do see something 3D Mario esque, do you think it could be like Mario Maker 3D? Because I think that the possibilities there. That was a really bad voice crack. I needed to sip some tea. Hold on. This tea was relatively warm when I started, and now it's like room temp. um, I think the possibility is there that with Donkey Kong Bonanza, maybe it started out as like a prototype for, okay, can we do deformable terrain on the Switch? Can we do like 3D modifiable terrain on the Switch? And then that project probably got bumped up to the Switch too. But they might have been working that concept because they were considering like a 3D level editor type game akin to Mario Maker. And well, I don't think that Mario Maker 3 would involve like sculpting terrain carefully. It'd probably be more like a block editor type thing, like the Mario Builder hack that got pulled off of ROMhacking.com. Um, is that something in their cards? And is that something that they were looking into when they started like playing around with Donkey Kong Bonanza as a concept? Because I think the potential is there. Now, do I think this is coming in the next year, or this is going to be like the Mario 40th anniversary thing? No, because if they were genuinely interested in doing that, they would have announced it by now. Uh, Clearly, Mario Galaxy, the movie, is their focus for the anniversary. So I don't expect this in the next year. But the fact that, like, it's a bulleted list at this point. Mario Maker 2, no updates. Mario Maker adjacent things, getting DMCA'd. The Switch 2 is powerful enough to do like 3D modifiable terrain and like load it properly on the fly, which means that it could probably load like player created levels. And then also like I, I don't know, the potential's there is the point I'm getting at. I might be this is another pipe dream, but I think the potential is there. You know, Nintendo likes to take big swings with their like games when they're like, okay, if we're gonna make a new game, we gotta put a spin on it. They rarely just do follow-up sequels, a la Mario Galaxy 2. Like, there's usually some new idea behind whatever they make. Mario Maker 3 could be 3D, you know, and I think that it would be doable if we were to look at the catalog of games that they would be pulling from, like they did with Mario Maker, where it's like, okay, Mario 1, Mario 3, Mario World, and then New Soup as a collective, and then they randomly tacked on like 3D World as an extra style for the sequel. What games could they realistically do a Mario Builder for? Well, I mean, they took down Mario 64 Mario Builder, so and I given that Mario 64 is the OG like 3D Mario game, I think it makes sense for that to show up. So there you go. First game Mario 64. Second game I think is a basic like throwaway, probably going to be there is Mario 3D World, given that it's like the new soup of the 3D games, and its eight directional movement makes it I, pretty easy to imagine in a level editor type game like Mario Maker, when I'm pretty sure that all of those levels were made in a level editor to begin with in the original like game. Um, so 3D land slash world as a collective. And then the real toss up is, would Mario Galaxy and or Mario Sunshine be a game theme? I could see potentially Sunshine. I don't know about Galaxy because they would have to do a whole gravity thing. And given that Galaxy is mostly built around spherical things and like planetoids and whatnot, that might be beyond the scope of what they're willing to do for a 3D Mario Maker. If it would be like a box builder type, like Unity Engine thing, where you just place a bunch of squares and then like maybe some slopes, but you wouldn't be like sculpting rounded terrain. Um, I doubt Galaxy would be doable for a 3D Mario type game, especially with the gravity thing. Like it wouldn't be Galaxy without the gravity, but it would also be a lot to ask. So I think Sunshine's doable. I don't know about Galaxy. I think they're trying to get their Galaxy stuff all out of their system with the with the movie and the re-release, so that they can like say, oh well, you're not missing Galaxy too bad when they make Mario Maker 3D and Mario Galaxy isn't there. Um, I don't know. I think it'd be reasonable for them to omit it. But then like, what other games would there be? Um, what other 3D Mario's realistically are there? You know, you got Sunshine, you got uh, that's basically all the 3D Mario games at this point. Unless you did Odyssey, which I guess you could do Odyssey. Um, and I'd be open to Odyssey. I just don't think it would be Odyssey without the captures, and so they would have to add a lot of like enemy types and captures and stuff, which I think they could do it. So I'm not against Odyssey showing up. I think it's a reasonable possibility. Um, but the main game I would like to see in a 3D Mario Maker builder game isn't a 3D Mario platformer at all. It's Mario Kart. Hear me out. We just got a new Mario Kart game with, oh, I left my portal here. I didn't even use this last time. Um Mario Kart World has like a whole parkour system, and it is barely used. Like it's used within the level design, but it's kind of, there's only like 30 tracks, 29 like tracks uh in Mario Mario Kart World. Jesus, I'm like, I need a minute. Um oh, I made it to the left of the world. um Guess I'll head to the right. Um the point is, with the rail grinding and the wall jumping and the charge jumping and all of the parkour stuff that they added to the new Mario Kart game, uh, they gotta have like a Mario Kart builder type thing in the pipe. Because when I said like, I know I mentioned Donkey Kong Bonanza, like flirting with the idea of like morphable stuff, and like maybe it was a trial run for that concept. Nintendo likes to do that. They like to like pilot ideas and then iterate on them in a larger scale later. Um, that's kind of like how they operate in like a R&D sense. They like float ideas and then come back to them later with a larger budget, larger effort. They'll like float an idea in one game and then it'll be the focal point of another game. Um, and I think in this case, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. Everyone's favorite Mario Kart game that I'm sure you all remember and cherish. When people said, oh, we didn't get a single Mario Kart game between Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart World, wrong, wrong. You had the phone one and you had Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, everyone's favorite Mario Kart game. Well, that entire it was like a Toys to Life thing, but it wasn't like Skylanders where you put them on a thing. But it was like, okay, here's this Mario Kart toy thing, and then a game that goes with it, and you like use the Mario Kart toy, like the little Mario with the camera that you drive around your house. You like pilot it, and that would like trace a track onto the floor of your house, and then you would race on it with the toy. And it was like a mini Mario builder, like a mini Mario Kart maker. And I like to think that they were piloting. Oh, that's not real. I like to think that they were piloting the Mario Kart maker concept to see if it was something people would be interested in. Because if they do go the route of a 3D Mario Maker, you could just throw Mario Kart in there as like an alternate game style thing. Like, yeah, okay, there's your main mode, go bing bing wahoo, jump around, collect stars, whatever. But then also, here's this other side mode where you create race tracks and then race around on them, in them. You share cool tracks to your friends. I'm not saying it would work well. I'm saying the possibility is there that they would want to explore it. And so maybe we would get Mario Maker 3D plus Mario Kart Maker. I don't know. I think there's potential. And I would imagine it would probably be in the Mario Kart World style. But if not, then they could do Mario Kart 8. It just feels like, I don't know. We've been trying to walk away from Mario Kart 8 for ever now. And now we have. We're not going to jump back into it with a spin-off game. So it would probably be in the style of Mario Kart World. So I think the potential is there. Now, if they weren't going to do Mario Kart, but they wanted to pull like a 3D Mario something, like what else could they put? I don't know. Because there are other like 3D platformer games that could use a level editor type thing like that. I don't think they would cross franchises like, oh, here's Kirby Builder. Probably not going to do that one. Probably not going to give us like Zelda Dungeon Builder. Although I would love a Zelda Dungeon Builder, because so much of Mario Maker's like player-made level library is like puzzle levels, and they kind of like toyed around with it in Mario Maker 2 with the Link costume update. But we could have like a full dungeon builder for like Zelda top-down style dungeons, and I would love that. And given the nature of like Echoes of Wisdom, especially, where it's like, here's a game engine that's like links to the past art style, simple shit, but now you can like create any like game object in this like list of game objects that you've studied across your adventure, and you could just spawn them in wherever. Like that whole game format. And I'm not saying it would be like Echoes of Wisdom Maker, but like you could use that game engine thing to like make a Legend of Zelda Dungeon Builder, because you've already got the skeleton there in the form of Echoes of Wisdom's game engine and like mechanics. I don't know if they would want to go that route. I don't know how well it would sell, but it'd be neat. The potential's there. But I don't know. The video I was gonna make on this subject was like the duality of Mario Maker 3. And the approach I was going to take is like, which way are they going to go with a sequel? Are they going to do 3D Mario Maker My Pipe Dream, or are they going to make like Mario Maker 3 and it just be like another 2D Mario Maker game with more stuff added? And I'd be down for both. I don't think they're going to do both in like one game. They're going to pick a lane and stick with it, whether that be like 3D Mario Maker or 2D Mario Maker. I don't think they're gonna do both. Maybe, I don't know. They could. I guess the potential's there. If they wanted to like reel it back and they didn't want to go super crazy with the 3D Mario Maker approach, they just wanted to do like Mario 64 and like 3D World because those are simple enough. Um, they could do just those in a 3D level editor and then have the rest be like traditional 2D Mario Maker. Um, but I don't know if it would make for a cohesive gameplay experience having the mix of gameplay formats. So I don't know whether they would want to go that route. But I could see them going either direction as far as like a 3D Mario Maker or a 2D Mario Maker. Um, and so I just kind of wanted to yap about that. Um, and yeah, I'm sure you could tell I'm sick as shit. So sorry for making you listen to my sick self yap for whatever. Um, just gotta get rid of that portal. It's upsetting me. But that's about all I got on this subject, and I'm gonna rest my throat now. Probably go suck on a cough drop. Um, but let me know what you think in the comments, because that's what YouTubers ask, right? I'm not asking that for like engagement. I don't really care, but like if you have any input on this, I'd be curious to hear what people think. I just feel like a Mario Maker something is so much more inevitable than either a 2D or a 3D Mario game, given that we just got a 2D Mario game and they just put DLC in the 2D Mario game. It just got a Switch 2 edition with a substantial add-on content. And given the 3D angle of things, like we just got Donkey Kong Bonanza, like I don't see either of those types of Mario games getting a new entry anytime soon, like within the next 2 years. But I totally foresee a new Mario Maker thing in the next 2 years if Nintendo hasn't totally given up on Mario Maker as a franchise, which I don't think they have. If they still do the Mario sports games that, like Mario Strikers, I can't imagine that sells a ton. Then I don't see why they wouldn't keep putting some manpower behind Mario Maker as like a side series because people like it. And it's more in line with the identity of the Mario franchise than any of the sports titles are. So I don't think Nintendo's going to just ditch Mario Maker entirely because it didn't sell that well. Um, but if we do get a new Mario Maker thing in the next couple years, what do you think it's going to look like? Let me know because I love to yap. But that's going to be it from me. And thanks for listening. See ya.